Hello, my name is Amy Nacky. I am from the Student Resource Center. I am the intake assistant, and I am just going to go ahead and start this recording for the time manager workshop. And so if you're viewing this, thank you for requesting it, and thank you for being able to be interested into learning more about how to hone in on your skills for the time management workshop. So yeah, let's just get started. So to start off, what is time management? So time management is basically regarding, like it's kind of in the name, it's like how you're going to manage your time. So of course, there's a depiction right here is to kind of figure out like a very good overview is like what we're going to be kind of learning, and where we're also going to see like how you can hone in on those skills that you have right now and to like develop to become even better. So and just as a reflection for yourself at this point, and you can pause after this, is like probably rate your skill from like the lowest to highest of like where you would like to currently have your time management skills. So lowest being like, if you feel like you're fine, but the highest is kind of like when you want to say that you want to get better at it. So, anyways, so moving on. So a time management quiz. So you can pause alongside of this just to kind of like quiz yourself as to like how relatable these are. Um, and yeah, so we'll just go for it. So first, I have little time for planning ahead and sorting out priorities. Two, I don't have sufficient time to devote to activities outside of what I've planned for the day. Three, I complete only what is due that day instead of doing other tasks that are due later. Or I have trouble finding a time system that works well for me. Five, and the last one, I don't complete tasks to my full ability. So, take a time, reflect on this, and see if these are relatable to you, and which one speaks more to you. And like, I want you to be able to keep this in mind, so that way you can figure out how you can overcome these like challenges, or maybe of like what you can do better. So to begin off, are you a procrastinator? So we're just going to be kind of going into like another quiz. So this is actually a point system. So definitely pause the video and like write down what your score is for each one of them, and it'll explain this as I go. So for one, I often find myself performing tasks that I have intended to do days before. You get a point if you say no. Two, I generally return emails and phone calls promptly. You get a point if you say yes. I usually rush to complete tasks on time. You get a point if you say no. Four, I usually accomplish all the things I plan to do in a day. You get a point if you say yes. I usually start a task I'm given shortly after I'm given it. You get a point if you say yes. Six, I frequently say I'll do it tomorrow. You get a point if you say no. Seven, when I have something difficult to do, I tell myself that it's better to wait to do it until I'm more inspired. You get a point if you say no. Eight, after arriving home from school, I usually start my homework right away. You get a point if you say yes. So tally up your scores. If you have scored more than 5 points, or at least 5 points, congratulations, you're productive within the time that you have. So, and which is could be a very big accomplishment for anyone. Of course, if you scored less than 5 points, this may be a sign that you tend to procrastinate. So, you know, and this is not just to like bring you down as to saying that, since you're a procrastinator, that, you can't really do anything about it. So we're actually here to talk about that, of how you can become better. So with procrastination, we really look into as to where does it come from. And so, like the list says, there's like a lot that can be implemented, because we also have to figure out that, it's not just school that you're dedicated to, but you're also dedicated to all your personal stuff, as to like whether it be family, friends, or even just your own family to take care of, or even just taking care of yourself. And especially if you have a job, whether it be part-time or full-time, there's a lot of things that can come together to affect you in that sense. So from the list, the first one mentions negative expectations of the task at hand. And then this kind of plays into as that almost like a self-talk. If you self-talk as to saying like, oh, I won't be able to do this. Oh, I can't do this. Oh, I have to do this. A lot of those times, whenever you have those thoughts in your head, you create a negative aspect or like a view of like what you need to do or what you have to do. So, and then in other sense, you become overwhelmed because you have so many tasks at hand. So this could be like I said, you have many components, maybe even throughout the day or every day, and you tend to feel like, okay, I have all of this to do, but now I feel like it's all so much that I'm not sure if I'm even going to finish it. So, and then next, it does mention that like if a task is enjoyable, if it's boring, or if it's repetitive. Repetitive is not always the bad thing, but it can get a little bit much, especially if it's part of your routine. You always are expecting that it's going to come up. And, sometimes you need to jolt your schedule in a sense to be able to feel a little bit more joy in order to do something. So like I said, if it's unenjoyable, if it's boring, you're less likely to be even motivated to want to do that. So another one is that feeling like you have plenty of time to complete a project. So, you know, based off like my own experience and many others that I've heard from, usually if you have like so much time in order to, and the due date's not until like way later, especially with assignments, any type of project, it feels like, oh, I have enough time, so I can actually just go do this other thing. Sometimes it creeps up on us, and the least in next thing you know, it's due next week, it's due tomorrow, it's due very soon, to the point where you're like, oh shoot, I didn't even start it, or like I'm not even halfway done. So yeah, it's sometimes that causes that procrastination. And feeling unsure about how you get started. So I know in some sense it can be very uncomfortable to know that like maybe you're not sure how to start. Maybe you're not sure like even what to do. And one way is to kind of think about like, hey, you still have help out there. And sometimes we forget that. And it is scary to sometimes reach out and ask. But that's one way to also overcome this feeling if you're not sure where to start. So, and then another thing is overcommitment. So, I'm going to be talking about this a little bit later on, but that's also one thing that can really, I guess, stop you from wanting to do things you're needing to do. So, and of course, like I said, being out of your comfort zone, something that may be very uncomfortable, such as like public speaking, being able to do an assignment that requires you to speak to other classmates, be a part of a group, may be uncomfortable. Um, and of course, distractions. If you have distractions like at home, whether you have kids, maybe you really want to have downtime to be like, say, do, how do you say, like extracurricular activities, gaming, reading books that that you actually find enjoyable, watch movies, hanging out with friends. Those are things that can be distracting. So moving on. So tips for beating procrastination. So, we talked about all the reasons that like what could cause that. So here is kind of like a little chart. So to start off is like, even if you don't want to, just get started for 10 minutes. Sometimes it doesn't have to be 10 minutes. Maybe you can do it for at least like the first 2 minutes, get something started. As long as you are able to get started, most of the time you are able to go ahead and start finishing what you already started. Next is start with the hardest task first. Don't leave it for last. So I know that I'm going to be tagging a video into here for you to view on your end. So we won't be able to watch it during this recording. So once it comes to that slide, I highly suggest that you take a moment to go ahead and watch that video, then come back to this recording, so that way it kind of flows a little better as to the presentation. But regardless, the hardest task first. This is very important because a lot of times if a task is very difficult to do, we tend to put it off, and we end up doing the smaller things, the easier ones. Sometimes that's good, but too much of of going into your comfort zone can actually leave you to a stress about the ones that you have not started at all. And the next is divide your big tasks into smaller ones. So, like I just mentioned a moment ago, is that sometimes the smaller tasks are easier to do. And if you were to break down that huge task, that huge project that you have to do, especially if it's due until like the end of the semester, or being able to figure out, okay, I have this big thing, that big event that's going to be attending, that I have to help out with. Luckily, if you are able to break it down, like, okay, I at least need to do this first. And then this other thing, I need to do that one. If I break it down in that sense, it becomes a little bit more easier to actually figure out like how to finish it up, or even just to, like I said, start it. And then lastly, start a schedule, and stick to it during study time. So, I'm gonna be talking about a little bit more how to delegate time for that. So we're gonna go over a little bit more into this video, although I invite you to stop and pause this recording and be able to go to this video. I'll tag it with whoever requests it with the link, and that way you can watch that. So, but moving on. So let's evaluate, where do you spend most of your time? So for one, do you spend most of your time working, or do you work part-time? Do you work full-time? How many hours do you spend? So sometimes you like to sleep. So it's important to sleep, don't get me wrong. But if you oversleep or do not delegate time in order to do so, it could interfere as to what you were needing mostly to do. And then eating. How much time do you usually take to eat? This kind of like refers to like maybe you have a lunch break, and like how much of that time do you use just to eat, or even just to like, unwind? Homework. How much time do you actually do homework? Like if you were to compile it into one, like a few hours, a few minutes, maybe even a day. So like how much of that time do you tend to do homework? Social media. So this is the interesting topic because, social media is always part of like, at this point, everyday life. And, it's a good way to unwind, but also to keep informed with many other things. So yeah, evaluate as to like how much time you spend on your social media. Friends, like I said, sometimes a lot of the of a good thing can be turned into a bad thing. So, this applies to everything on this list. But, sometimes maybe you hang out with your friends, but are you actually like putting out time to do your homework or anything like that? Or even just like how much do you spend time with them, even if you want to do it as a leisure? Watching TV. So I know that watching TV is kind of more of like depending on like streaming. Like, do you watch Netflix? Do you watch Disney Plus? Do you tend to binge watch on any like TV shows, movies? Think about that. So, and of course, other leisure, and that's open to like what other stuff that you tend to do. So next, we're gonna actually focus on SMART goals. So this is where we're kind of be able to hone in as to like how we can create goals for you to finish the tasks that you are needing to do. So, just because it's called SMART goals, it doesn't mean just like, oh, you need to be smart about it. Of course you need to be. But if you were to break it down as if it's an acronym, starting with S, it has to be specific. And then next, it has to be measurable, and then attainable, relevant, and then time-based. So for more detail, and I'll explain a little bit, is that, you have to be specific in your goals, being able to help focus on like a certain target helps you to focus really like as to what you need to do, you know. And also when it comes to being measurable, you have to make sure that, you know, as if there's like a time frame, which is also hones in on the time-based aspect, is that you have to be able to measure it to the point where you can actually see how your goal is going. Like, how did you get like half of it done? Did you only get a quarter of it done? Um, like, are you actually making it attainable, making it realistic for yourself to actually finish it out? And you know, how relevant is it to your values and to like the objectives that you already do? Which could be an example as that, okay, I have an assignment. It's due, say, next week. And so I have 5 days in order to finish it out completely without it being late. And to do that, like, what day should I have certain things done for the assignment? So that way I can let it be more attainable for me to finish in a more structured way. Or you can also think of it as like, how can I like not be late on this assignment? And what do I need to get done? So that's just a few examples regarding to your academics. But this can also be applied to anything personal. So like, you know, you're wanting to do, say, your taxes, go grocery shopping, go doing errands, like, you know, you do laundry. Maybe I want to go visit family, but I can only do for so long. So yeah, so think about those as you start to make your goals. So we go into why time management is important. So it is fairly important for one, that good time management allows you to accomplish more in a shorter time. So if you are able to manage that, you'll be able to actually get more tasks done and maybe sometimes get ahead in, like, say, your courses, tasks that you do for your everyday routine. It leads to more free time. So, I mean, all of us really want that free time, a little bit more breathing room in order to do the stuff that we want. Um, so think about that as to like, if you were to get a task done, shoot, it opens up a little bit more stuff for you to do at a leisure. It lowers your stress level. I know that with college, it can become very stressful in order to be able to manage anything and become very overwhelming. So definitely think about as to like how you can de-stress for yourself. And, you know, sometimes the main component is that, you know, you get your tasks done, so you don't have to worry too much anymore. And then lastly, it helps you focus, and which leads to a higher success level of being able to complete your courses in a timely manner, and, you know, to a point where you're not stressing like throughout the semester. So next we kind of talk about the mistakes that you can make. So this is like one of the top 6 ones that we picked out. And of course, if you made these mistakes, don't worry, you know, you're learning and that's why you're here. So for one, procrastination. You know, we talked a little extensively about procrastination, and, you know, rewind it if you want to go more into detail again as to like how you procrastinate. And, you know, I told you to reflect as to how those statements relate to you, if those are true for you, and, you know, how that's gonna help you in the long run as to like be more aware. For one, organizational issues. So this could be like, maybe you just are not sure of how to organize everything. So, and we're gonna talk a little bit more about how like certain like templates and strategies that could be of help to you. So, and of course, the amount of time you spend on social media. So I know that with social media, is very much part of the everyday life. And, you know, whether you spend time on Instagram, Facebook, let's say used to be called Twitter, but now it's called X, maybe TikTok, or even just like other apps that you find really nice to like connect with people or to learn about news and so forth. Sometimes what it could be called as doom scrolling. Like how much of that do you tend to do that you just get lost in social media? So, and sometimes that's also a mistake because it eats up your time. And yeah, so definitely reflect on that. And then interruptions and distractions. So of course, there's always going to be some type of interruption or distraction, but the goal is also to minimize that. So that way, like you can finish everything that you're needing to do, especially during your studying time. So multitasking. So this could be a strength and your downfall also is that if you are not able to focus on one thing and you're doing many things at once, you may not be able to finish the most important things. And so sometimes it can be hard to focus. And but if we minimize the distractions and minimize to sticking with one thing, you'll be surprised of how much you can get done. So, and then of course, taking on too much and not saying no. So this is kind of going back on to the overwhelming aspects. And maybe sometimes you just say yes to a lot of things, a lot of commitments. Maybe saying yes to friends, to going to hang out, and saying yes that, oh yeah, I'll take care of that for you, like when you're with your family. Oh yes, I'll go do this for you. Oh, I have a little bit of time. I might as well just try to help you. And I get that sometimes it's hard to say no, but this is not almost only like, I guess, saying that just no flat out, but also creating a boundary for yourself to hold yourself accountable to be able to finish what you are needing to do. And especially if it's important to you and it really aligns to your own values of what you want to accomplish. So, okay, so we talked about all of this stuff. So, how do we even get started? So, for one, get to know yourself. If you already know yourself, that's great. Sometimes it's more of exploring of like how you go about your day, what is your routine, and really seeing like how you spend your time. So one of the best ways is to like just use your time wisely and what works best for you. And the next is establishing priorities. So priorities, we hear about that like, oh, maybe you feel like, oh, I have so many priorities. Like I don't get how I can narrow it down. So, well, start making a list. It makes it easier to see it like on paper or even just on a computer. You don't have to write it down. You can type it out. It'd be easier to see on paper or on a computer like what you feel is a priority. And then so I know that we do have a sheet and I can send you if you request it of a priorities list of like that can really help and hone in as to what you feel should go first, what should go second, third, and so forth. And of course, like I said, finish tasks that are due sooner than first than the ones that start until like way later. So this could be, discussion posts that you need to do instead of the essay, because those still count towards your grade. And I know discussion posts can be very difficult in some aspects, but there's definitely time frames to a lot of assignments. If you have a big project, make sure you start with a reasonable amount of time before the due date. I know I kind of did an example of this before. And then of course, try working on it for a short amount of time each day. This will help from actually piling up on you and making it seem like that since you've started already, you have a lot less to do when the time frame comes up for the due date. Then of course, know your schedule. So, I kept on saying reflect as to what you do during your everyday life and routine. This is where you start making a chart, using a personal planner, or anything that helps you to see what you do for like throughout your week, for the next day, tomorrow, or even later on today. So, and this is how you can best learn how to fill your time. So, this could be like writing it down, like I said, or even using a computer. And of course, creating personal time. It's really good for you to create a certain personal downtime for yourself. So that way it's a way to reset, to be able to take off that stress, take off that thought of like, oh my God, I have to do this, I have to do this. It can actually really relax you. So, and of course, just, learning where to put that time frame for yourself, whether it be after lunch, whether it be after work for like a good hour or two. So yeah, and we'll kind of do like a little example of that. So implementing time management. So this could be using by time blocking mainly. You can use your calendars and create a monthly planner book. There's actually some good apps on your cell phone that you can download from, like, say, the app stores, depending on what type of phone you have. And then, of course, creating a to-do list. So, make it your own and fun, because, like I said, if it's boring, if it's something that is like, I know it's going to become repetitive in order to do this, but if you make it more enjoyable and to your liking, you actually get more involved as to what your schedule is. So, mainly personalizing everything, whether it be handheld or electronic. So, of course, these are some examples, and I'm gonna show you a little bit more too. So, handwritten ones for all the people that work well on paper instead of through technology. So, I highly suggest using a planner, or even just having small templates that you can carry around with yourself. So, be creative with this. If you like color coding, I personally love color coding because it can help me figure out, like, hey, this is for work, this is for school, this is for my personal. And yeah, so once you can code all of the colors that you want, like, you can use highlighters, you can use markers, you can use colored pens. It makes it more fun to be able to, you know, I guess you say, fill out things that you're needing, because it's a sense of accomplishment. Um, of course, there's definitely templates out there that you're gonna like, and some of them you find a little bit more not your style. And usually, like, a lot of people say that physically writing it out helps them remember more of what they're needing to do. So, and then with emails and calendars, these can really help you in being able to, I guess, have reminders. So, as a Simon College student, you actually have the Outlook calendar. So has all of, like, the aspects of being able to remind you of, like, any events, or even like meetings, or even inputting yourself, um, a to-do or reminder for, like, say, assignments, study time, so forth. So I highly suggest explore the calendar within the Outlook app. And if you haven't downloaded Outlook yet, definitely do so, so that way you can keep on top of the emails that you receive from Simon College. And if you're not comfortable with Outlook, there's other apps. Say, like, if you have an Apple, you have a calendar already built into there. If you have an Android, you have also a calendar that's already built in. Maybe you already use it, but maybe explore it a little bit more as to, like, how you can really get all of the like perks of using that and being able to keep yourself on task. So, and if you do want help in being able to knowing how to put those in your calendars, we definitely have coaches here that can help. I know there's technology coaches that here on campus that can be of a really good help to guide you with, like, any technological issues. If it is a personal, like, device and so forth, and you just need a little bit of guidance of, like, how to access something, they should be able to guide you, but they won't be able to do it directly for you. So, if that makes sense. So next is for my people that work well on a computer and that tend to like having everything clean cut on their device. So Excel spreadsheets can be actually really a good way of being able to keep track on either in a daily, weekly, or even monthly. So depending on your style, I definitely say try out all three of them, see what works best for you. You can have a daily schedule. You can keep track of like at least by the hour, by 30 minutes, of like where you need to be, what you need to do. And some people may not like that because they feel like it's micromanaging. And which is totally fine. So that's why I suggest weekly, maybe dedicate like, okay, Tuesday, I'm going to be studying and needing to go to class. Wednesday, I have to work, but I also need to study. And, you implement those in there. And then, but if you're more of like, okay, I just need to see everything like in a monthly area. And maybe even this is just implementing that I like a daily calendar and also monthly. So that way I can keep on track. So you can go back and forth, back and forth. So monthly is really good if you really need to like keep track of the upcoming appointments that you have, maybe a presentation that you need to do, an important work meeting that you have to attend, and so forth. So these spreadsheets are actually all examples that we currently have at this time. So if you would like the Excel spreadsheets, definitely email us back, and that way we can send those templates to you. And we also have various other templates too that could be of help to you that you can either print out or you can type within them. So if you really would like those templates to start you off on this journey of being able to figure out your time management, you're more than welcome to reach out to us and we'll be able to send you some. So moving on, this is an example that I was talking about. So, and of course, we can send it through email too. It's mostly done through email that we like to send out these templates. But this is a really good example of like maybe like a typical college student that is implementing not only their class schedule, their work, but also honing in like when they want to have lunch, when they want to go work out, when they want to have personal time. Because this can really help and keep you on track as to, where are you spending your time? Like, how do you want to spend your time? And what's nice is that, the color coding of this too, sometimes it's just simple 2 or 3 colors that can really help and hone in as to like, okay, these are the most important ones. These ones are kind of like a medium scale that I need to do. And then the ones that are like, okay, that's just for my leisure time. So if you can see my mouse, you can really see that they implement a time for lunch, a gym, open for appointments because, sometimes you have travel time and you never know that, like say right here, that you need to travel maybe from your house to the college, you need that specific time in order to get here so that you're not running late, or even just personal time. So right here, this is personal time. It's open for the person. So that way, like, okay, this is my time. I don't need to study. I don't need to do this. And of course, things can change too. So just remember that this is always interchangeable for you. And just because you put it on paper is because you put it on your like template doesn't mean it's always set in stone. Remember that, just hold yourself accountable as to, what you dedicated that time for. So, and of course, don't get discouraged. So it's very common to do all of this work, do the template and fill it out, and maybe something in your life pops up, whether it be a good or bad thing, and it kind of disrupts your whole schedule, what you need to do. Maybe you just need to like redo the whole thing. Just because you may need to do that, or if nothing goes to plan, doesn't mean that, it's the end of the road of your time management. So and honestly, this doesn't happen overnight. It's a very much an ongoing process. There's days that you may fall off of your schedule. There's days that you'll feel like you're right on it. Some days are better than most. And it's okay to feel like you need to take a step back from it. Never feel like that this is set in stone. At the bottom, we kind of go in reflection of like the scale that you've created in the beginning of like what goal do you want your time management to be. So, and I guess after learning this whole thing, definitely make that like that number just something in the back of your head to go off of. It's like, okay, I know I want to be better with time management. I know I set myself to be at a 7 at least because I'm at a 3 right now. And like I said, the measurements of like how you can indicate like how to better yourself for time management can really put you on a right track as to develop even more. So, and I just asked this question as to like, as what it says on the bottom, it says, what step can you take today to help you achieve that goal? And in this point, just talking about time management, what do you feel like out of this whole thing can really help you? And once you find your answer, I really encourage you to be able to see if you can just start it off, whether it be reaching out to us, asking for a template, or reaching out to us to also ask for help with coaching, which is also another aspect I was going to go over. But like I said, we're the Student Resource Center. If you're not very familiar with us and you just know like the basics or you've just heard of this workshop, we help with many things on an academic level and a personal level. We have a resource coaching that can really hone in on as to what you may be facing at this time. On an academic level, we help with time management, study skills, overcoming procrastination, motivation, or even just learning about test anxiety. And yeah, anything of that tracks that can help you in the classroom and learning how to achieve your courses. On a personal level, we try to help with, say, you are struggling with housing. We can try to help you with the information of like what resources are out there in the community that can be of help to you. We not only go into the community as to see what could be available for you, but we also try to start with the college, whether we are able to help you directly or maybe even someone else on campus, and then we go into the community. So I know the list right here kind of shows that we can help with clothing referrals, possible food assistance, hygiene items, textbook assistance, school supplies, childcare information, and yeah, anything that you may be facing. And we can try to figure out what may be of help to you. So, and I also want to highlight that the food assistance that we have at this current time is actually really, I guess, growing. And because we have a Food for Thought program that really helps in being able to close in on the food insecurity that you may be facing as a student. So whether it be you're needing help in getting connected with like applying for SNAP, they can help and guide you as to what steps you would need to take. We do have a pantry. They're open on certain hours. I will not state them at this time because they may change throughout the time, but that is available for you. If anything, if you are wanting to schedule a time to receive an emergency food box, that's totally like acceptable. You can either email us or you can email the Food for Thought directly, and I'll try to include that also in the email since it's not on the slide. But overall, we are open to you reaching out to us, and we do our best to keep in contact with you, especially if you email us, call us, or even come in person. So you are always welcome to come in, ask questions. And if you do have like a request to meet with a coach, definitely email the resource email or even call us and we'll get you set up with a coach. Or even just asking for those templates again. So thank you for watching. If you do have questions after this, I know that there's more workshops to come, so please keep a lookout for them. But other than that, I wish you guys all a good day, and yeah, hope for the best for you in the semester. See you.